begin by introducing you to Pastor Jan Cummings. You can say a few words to get us started.
Thank you,
Pastor.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to say welcome to Trinity. You are experiencing history today. This church is one of the oldest African American churches in Lake County.
Second oldest.
Second oldest. We say one of the oldest. There's some, among the brethren, there's some disagreements, but we know when we say one of the oldest, we really fall into that category. We have a very strong history and a passion for social justice, social action type of activities. And so when we got the call, it was just a matter of making sure we could accommodate based on the church calendar. So you're welcome here to take care of business. You're welcome here to come and visit us. 11 o'clock services on Sunday morning. We don't stay all day, usually less than 90 minutes, but it's a very lively service, and it's one where we, I guess the best way to put it is where we love on each other. We believe that we're all part of God's creations. Everybody is welcome. We celebrate each other and we celebrate God. We do a lot of work in the community, and I won't take the time to go into that now because I know you have lots of business to take care of. But I would like to invite you back next Saturday. Is our 17th annual Cares Fest. Cares Fest is an opportunity to come and meet the neighbors and other folks who are interested. We do a lot in terms of sharing with the community. That day, we give away school supplies, we have health fair, all types of screenings, all type of immunization. We do clothing and small appliance giveaway. We promote organizations such as this one. Sometimes there are employers here. Many of the area politicians come through at some point in time during the day. And so the only thing missing from Cares Fest this year would be you. So you're welcome to come back. It's noon till 3. I believe it's noon till 3. I think you'll find it worth your time. So thank you for allowing us to share this time. I've got to make a quick run, but I'm going to come back and hear a little bit about what's going on. And again, thank you, and I hope you feel welcome. Restrooms down the hall, the guys on the left and the girls straight ahead. You can't miss it. Okay, any questions of me or Trinity before I make a quick dash?
Pastor, could you maybe give us a quick benediction to start us off?
Opening prayer, yes. Let us bow our heads. God, we thank you so very much for a beautiful day. A day, God, where we, your creations, have come to celebrate each other, but God, we come to share the concerns of those who are less fortunate, the concerns of those who are put upon, the concerns of those who don't have a voice. And so we thank you for these organizations, these representatives. We ask, God, that you would empower them with your wisdom and your knowledge. We ask that your presence would be with us here today as we talk about how to strategize for a more equitable environment, a more equitable Illinois. This is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'll tell you more about my background and why I'm here later. Let me first introduce Vance Wyatt. He's on the Lake County Board. He's a very busy public servant, but he's taken time out of his schedule to be here and talk about this issue with you. Thank you. Vance.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vance Wyatt. Again, thank you, Adam, for bringing us all together for this great event. I'm the Lake County Board member for District 14. So just to give you a quick background on my district, it's pretty much almost all of North Chicago, from 14th to Buckley. And then it's pretty much Waukegan, from Waukegan and Elmwood all the way down, or Green Bay Road, all the way down to Sunset out west, over to 41 roughly, and then I have all of Park City, a little bit of Gurney, and 13 people in Lake Bluff. So gerrymandering is very live on the Lake County Board, as you can see. I'm from North Chicago. I live there currently. To speak specifically about rent, rent control is something that we do need in our community, even for people that are trying to purchase their homes. We have a lot of renters in our community in North Chicago. We have about 70% of our properties that are available are rentals. So only 30% of the people there are actually purchasing or actually living in their homes that actually they own. The remaining 70% are rentals. So if you're able to just have a crazy increase in your prices, especially as they're trying to gentrify North Chicago, which is an issue that's been going on for the last 2 to 3 years. It's slowly been gentrifying, and the prices have gone up. Home values, for instance, my condo that I lived in, it was $25,000. It was only worth $25,000, and back in 2014, today it just sold for $125,000. Just to give you a scale. So as the prices go up, the rent is also going to go up. Of course, property taxes, the issues going on with the state, that has also been forcing the rent to go up as well. And I understand that landlords need to pay their property taxes, but we also can't price people out of the market. The people that live here and work here in our community that have been here for so many years. You know, we have people that have rented for 20 plus years. Of course, we want to move them to home ownership, which is some of the programs that I've been focused on since I've been on the county board. But we also have to make sure that they're not priced out of the market and have to move out to Round Lake or up to Zion or even outside of the state of Illinois all the way up to Kenosha, just so they can actually afford to feed their families, be able to have their health insurance. There's so many different things, you know, especially with rent. If it's more than 40% of your household, the federal government considers that to be unequitable, and we're trying to make sure that it stays within that range, or at least further down as we push people into home ownership. We'll have a lively discussion. I'll have more to discuss as we go over some of the topics.
Thank you, Vance. So like I said, I'm Adam Broad. I'm here as a volunteer community organizer. And what we're going to do today is we're going to divide this into two segments. We're going to first talk a little bit about the problem, and then we're going to get positive and talk about some proposed solutions. And then what we want to do is hear from you about any questions you have or any input about where we might go with our organizing to deal with this situation. And now I'm going to just turn it over to the problem segment and let the organizers speak for themselves. First up.
Vance, did you have anything more to add?
Not at this time. I will apologize for being dressed down. I just came from a parade and eating. I haven't eaten all day, so sorry. That's all I can say right now.
All right, so I'll piggyback off what Vance said about Lake County. High rents are not just a problem in Lake County.
Who are you?
Okay, sorry. I'm Robin Peterson with the Chicago Democratic Socialists of America, and we're a leader of the Lift the Ban Coalition, along with Kenwood-Oakland Community Organization, Pilsen Alliance, the Legenia Burns Hope Center, and Northside Action for Justice, which are all organizations based in Chicago, but the broader coalition is statewide. That's about it, I think. Yeah, so I'll go into what I was going to say about the problem of rent burden and displacement in Illinois. So this is not just Lake County, it's the entire state, where we're seeing real estate speculation, skyrocketing rents, and people getting pushed out of their homes and their communities. And I thought I'd start with a few numbers. In Lake County, 45% of renter households are rent burdened, which means they spend more than 30% of their income on rent. And 21%, that's more than 1 in 5, are severely rent burdened, which means they spend more than 50% of their income on rent. Across the state, about a third of Illinoisans are rent burdened. And if you look at the percentage of renters who are severely rent burdened, Illinois ranks 8, so it's way up there. Rent burden is an issue that's a racial justice issue, it's a feminist issue, and it's also about justice for the elderly and the disabled, because people of color, women, the elderly, and the disabled are hit hardest by rent burden if you look at the numbers. So what happens when people are paying 30, 40, 50, and beyond percentage of their income on rent? What are they not spending it on? Just call out.
Healthcare, utilities, school.
Saving it?
Yeah.
What did you say?
Savings, yeah.
Yeah. Or fun stuff, just
Loans,
yeah.
vacation.
Yeah. So that is bad for people, and it's bad for the economy too. It makes it hard for people to live here in Illinois. And we're seeing the result of that, because 83 out of 102 counties in Illinois have lost population in the last year. That includes Lake County. And Illinois is the only state that has lost population for 4 years in a row. And this is a cycle because when people leave, there are fewer people to pay taxes, then they jack up our taxes too. So there's a problem, and we can see it in the numbers. But I also want to talk about like the personal side of it. So I've been knocking doors in my neighborhood in Chicago for off and on for the last 8 months, and along with other people in Chicago DSA. And some of the things we've heard people talk about are landlords jacking up the rent even though they aren't making basic repairs to the building. I talked to a woman who was forced to retire from her job at a state college early because of Governor Rauner's budget cuts, and who's now having to deal with a $100 increase in her rent on a fixed income. I talked to a man who said, I'm working 2 jobs right now just to live. And that's just in one neighborhood. In another neighborhood called Peterson, we've seen, for example, some people who have been paying $500 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment, getting evicted, the building gets rehabbed, they turn around and rent the same 1-bedroom apartment for $2,500 a month. So, so right now, when developers see a neighborhood they want to start investing in, and they start putting money into it, what happens to that neighborhood, especially if that neighborhood hasn't seen much investment for a while, or if it's predominantly people of color? We're seeing this money flow in. They're buying up property, putting up condos, luxury condos, adding amenities that people want, like new stores and restaurants and parks. Property values are going up. But is this benefiting long-term residents? Is it benefiting low-income residents? No, it's not. It's not doing that when developers and landlords are able to raise the rent by $100, $200, or even several times over what it was renting for before. What's happening is people are pushed out, communities are broken up, and it's not benefiting anyone who lives in those neighborhoods when developers are transforming them for the sake of profit. The only ones who benefit are those developers and the real estate industry, big landlords, who rarely actually live in those neighborhoods that they're exploiting. So to summarize, something I think we all know, housing is a basic human need that we all deserve. So is community. We deserve to have housing that is safe, stable, and affordable, and we're being denied this right now because the real estate industry is going in and speculating on our housing and squeezing people to get as much profit out of them as they can. We can't allow this to keep happening. We need to fight back for measures that will protect people from displacement and preserve affordable housing. And we need to fight for our right to housing.
We have another speaker on the problem, don't we, or are we going on to the solution part? All right, I will defer to another solution speaker before I speak.
All right. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, everybody. Hey, all right. My name is Jawanza Malone. I'm with the Kenwood-Oakland Community Organization. We're based out of Chicago on the south side. We're also a member of the Lift the Ban Coalition, one of the steering committee members. And so for us, this issue around rent control is literally an issue of life or death. for us in our neighborhood, we really started looking at rent control as a solution when an 84-year-old woman, who I personally have been working with for a number of years, because every time her lease came up for renewal, she faced a rent increase along with it. And so we got to a point where her entire monthly income, the entire monthly income, was going on her rent and utilities. Her children had to buy her food because she didn't want to get out here apartment hunting at the age of 84. And she didn't want to go into a senior home because she didn't have any reason to. Right? And so the question began in our minds, how do we deal with this, right? Here's a situation where every single year we were going to this management company that came to Chicago from New Jersey, a venture capital firm. So their business model was to make money off of rental property, right? We were going to them every single year to negotiate on this woman's behalf. We were doing this with the Waukegan group in another set of properties. We were doing this with Cash Management in another set of properties. We were doing this with Eastlake Management in a whole other set of properties. And the reality hit us that we can't keep doing this development by development, management company by management company, when everybody's doing the exact same thing, price gouging low income and working families because they can. When Atheist Capital came to Chicago from New Jersey and bought this 84-year-old woman's building and literally doubled her rent, all she got for it was a new coat of paint on the wall and new carpet. All the money she made every single month, I would imagine, is now worth a coat of paint and a carpet. But that was happening all throughout our neighborhood. And so we began to look at this, right? How can we sort of go upstream, take a step back, and nip this in the bud? So people can't just come in from wherever they're coming from and do this in our community. What we realized was that in 1997, this group called ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council, anybody heard of them? A few people heard of them. So for people who haven't, you all remember when George Zimmerman murdered Trayvon Martin in Florida, and George Zimmerman got off because he said, you know, there's this thing called stand your ground. I was just protecting myself. ALEC was the group that came up with the stand your ground law and bought off legislators to go across the country and get it passed. So ALEC did the same thing with rent control. They came up with legislation in a back room somewhere and gave it to legislators to go throughout the country to get it passed in their different legislatures. Now, when you look at the actual law in all these different states, more than 36 states in the union, the language is exactly the same. There's slight variation, which tells you, again, it all came from a single source, and that single source is ALEC.
Yep.
And so how is it that these conservative businessmen, predominantly, and legislators are colluding to pass laws that are not in our interest? Robin just said 1/3 of Illinois' population right now is rent burdened. 1/3. 3.5 million people in this state. No, I'm sorry, 6.5 million people in this state are paying more than 30% of their income just on rent. There's a national study done last year where they surveyed mayors to ask them why were their cities losing population. Now remember, again, what Robin just said, Illinois is the only state in the union that's lost population 4 years in a row. Now I won't get into what else we've had 4 years in a row. That's another discussion for another time. But the study said the predominant reason why people were leaving their cities was because they could not afford the cost of housing. So nationally, if this is the issue, then what's the solution? And for us, one of the key solutions is we need to start regulating rent. There is no regulation on how much rent goes up. There's no regulation on what you're charged to begin with. There's no standardization, right? There's nothing that says if your property taxes are this, if your water bill is this, your sanitation bill is this, your upkeep bill is this, then you charge X amount of rent. That doesn't exist. It's whatever that landlord thinks they can get from you, that's your rent. And if they want to go up and they still think they can get it, whether it's from you or somebody else, they're going to do it. How can you go from $500 to $2,500 in 30 days? What's happening? I mean, did they bring in gold toilets, right? What happened is that the Peterson neighborhood is being promoted through every newspaper coming out of Chicago as the hot market. If you're hip, if you want to be cool, you need to live in Peterson. And so they have, the developers have driven a market interested in Peterson. Business is about supply and demand, right? So you got a static supply, right? What you got is what you got for the most part. But as a real estate developer, you're looking for profit. So how do you create something out of nothing? How do I get Clyde to give me more money for the same place he's been living in the last 10 years? I gotta make magic happen. I gotta make people believe that that same apartment is worth more now than it was 2 days ago. And I got the money to buy the newspapers to write the articles I want them to write. And so for us, there has to be some regulation on rent. So the first step is getting rid of this stupid ban on rent control. That's where the name of the coalition came from, lift the ban, right? But it has to go beyond that. It's not enough just to say it's okay to have rent control. We got to make sure that every apartment has their rent regulated. Right now in New York, who's heard of rent control in New York before? Raise your hand. All right, most people. Did you know, for the people who raise your hand, this is a limited quiz. All right, just people raise your hand. So if you didn't raise your hand, you were smart. For the people who raise your hand, does New York have more rent controlled apartments now or less than they had when they started 50 years ago? Well, 60 years ago.
Far less.
Less? I hear less?
Less.
Anybody want to go the opposite end and say more? Come on, Kennedy.
More.
Way more.
Way more. Thank you, Kennedy. They have lost 280,000 units. 280,000 rent control units, right? Not from when it started, since 2010.
Wow.
In 8 years, they've lost 280,000 units. And the reason is, again, the developers. The developers have found loopholes to go in and steal these units from being rent controlled.
Hello.
Hi. And it's legal. At least some of it is. One tactic that they're using is they're going in with fraudulent deeds to buildings that people own. Right? So Robin owns a building. Everybody knows Robin owns the building, but I want her building because it's in a hot market. I know I can get 3 times more what she's getting for it, right? In terms of rent. So I falsify, counterfeit a deed to make it look like I own the building. And I go to court. I'm the rightful owner of this building, she isn't. Thanks to our legal system, I have to have my day in court. So Robin has to come up with money out of her pocket to challenge my fake deed. Now, how long is Robin going to be able to do that?
Till she runs out of money.
Till she runs out of money. And as long as I got more money than what Robin got, I'm sitting pretty. And so when she runs out of money, she loses her property. And I get it. And I jack the rent up. And all those people who have rent control apartments got to go. And those units are no longer rent controlled.
Oh.
But it's legal. That's our court system at work. And so what we're doing here, just because I'm taking way more time than I should.
But you're doing great.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I was raised in a Baptist church, so once I get going, I'm going. All right?
Amen. Hallelujah.
What we're doing is making sure that if you got an apartment, if you're charging people rent, it needs to be regulated. We don't care where you are, who you are, your rent needs to be regulated. And there needs to be vacancy controls in place. If I move or you kick me out, you can't just jack the rent up in that apartment. You got to stay whatever it is. So there's no incentive for you to displace me and my family, right? And there's protections in there also for small landlords. This isn't about hurting anybody. We're okay with people making a living. That's fine. But like a developer told me once we talked for like an hour and they finally got it, this is the difference between a real estate investor making a living versus making a killing. And right now, some of these people are making a killing just because they can. But it's the people I see every day who are becoming homeless because even though they go to work, they cannot afford these rent increases. So we got to do something about that. That's why we're here, everybody.
Thank you, Jawanza. I'm Adam Broad. I'm a volunteer organizer with Our Revolution. I'm also a member of the Democratic Socialists of America, which is how I got looped into this because DSA got a hold of me. They said they were looking for members to fill out surveys about places where they had political connections and knew people. Because I ran for Lake County Clerk, I did some organizing for my campaign here at Waukegan, North Chicago. And that's how I met Vance, Clyde, Dr. Rudd, Betty, hi Betty. So I mentioned in my survey I knew some people. They said, are they interested in rent control over there? And sorry, man, I left you out too. Organized,
you too, man.
Organized labor, getting this shaft every time. So I said I would bring it to the people I knew in the community, and everybody said yes. And so we put it on, and we kind of threw it together at the last minute, and this is the beginning. And you've heard about the problem, and maybe you've experienced it. So here we are with the solution part. First of all, is every eligible voter in this room registered to vote? Is there anyone who needs, because I'm a deputy register and I brought voter registration, so.
I am too.
So if you need to get registered, need to update, let's do that. Second, did you all sign in upstairs? Everybody sign in?
I might need to get updated, by the way.
No.
Okay.
Good job.
All right.
Good thing.
No, I was excited. It's good.
So, we all know that, we all know who Dr. Martin Luther King is. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., some people confuse him with Rodney King. You think he said, well, could we all just get along? That wasn't Dr. King, that was Rodney who said that. Dr. King tied getting along to social justice issues. And he died while standing up for the workers in Memphis who were doing dirty, dangerous work for small wages. And he thought, you know, his dream was connected to dignity and labor. And to me, if I have to say, with all the problems we're facing in this country, if I have to simplify it and say, what's the most broken thing about America? People might talk about abstract things like, you know, or may say racism or whatever, but to me, the most broken thing about our country that always encourages individual responsibility and work is that people who are out there working hard and can't make ends meet. To me, that is the most broken thing in America. And part of the clash of ideologies and factions that we're seeing are the bitter disagreements about why is this? Whose fault is it? Is it, you know, my fault because I'm a Jew? Me and my friends making it hard on you? Is it the communists? Is it the Russians? You know, whoever? We can't get into all that right here, but we could talk about making a difference and doing something about it. And this is step one. Let's take it a step at a time. Let's just do the next right thing. So like I said, let's register. Let's get the names on the list. Let's be stronger together. Don't let these divisions, economic divisions, racial divisions, religious differences, don't let these things divide us from our common cause of just having the dignity of being able to make ends meet and have the proper respect we deserve as citizens just from doing our jobs. And don't let people talk you into thinking that your organizing and your work and your voting doesn't make a difference, because they spend a lot of money trying to, you know, Jawanza was talking about how the legislation all sounds the same. All the different voices sound the same, also telling you don't worry about it, it doesn't matter. They'll tell you everything that's rotten about politics, but then they spend a lot of money seizing it up for themselves. If it didn't matter, if politics don't matter, why would the Koch brothers, who don't even want to pay you a living wage, why would they spend $1 billion on a primary process? Don't get scammed. And I'm telling you, the movement, the dream that Dr. King had, I mean, we can make that happen. It's not too crazy. I mean, he was on his way to the poor people's movement, and this thing here is just continuing what he started. It's not only good for us individually in our own personal self-interest to do this, but it also honors his memory. When people tell me politics don't matter and getting involved don't matter, to me they're saying he died for nothing. And I refuse to accept that. I mean, we can't bring him back, but we can honor him and keep on the struggle. So many people have sacrificed and bled for us to be able to move forward today. They've even done most of the heavy lifting. We just have to take the torch and carry it to the finish line. So that's what I'm asking. And just do it in the next small step you can. Get on the list, register to vote, and we'll follow up. We're going to get this done. That's all I have on that. I guess now, after my rant phase, we're on to the testimony or question. Does anyone have questions? Let's do the question and answer first.
I would just like to speak. I'm Dr. Rudd.
Mr. Rudd.
And some of the problems that I've seen over housing is lack of housing and an inability for people to stay in a safe environment, so that they live outside. As a result, they die. They die from elements, they die from beatings, they die from being thrown into jail and killed there. It's very bad, very, very bad. And let me go speak in regards to in terms of what we need to do. Sorry, let me come up front.
Okay, you up front. It's easier.
The Benny Hill theme.
Some of you guys are probably very young, but I grew up in a very short period of time under Franklin Roosevelt. And just before he died, 4 months before he died, he had a press conference where he mentioned the 4 freedoms. And 2 of the freedoms is housing, provided by the federal government, and a guaranteed wage. Okay, and I think, that should be tied in, but right now, let's do rent control. We've got to have these 2 freedoms, and we need to work on it, okay? When I grew up in Chicago, I'm old enough to grow in Chicago, where I lived in neighborhoods where rent was cheap. Okay, it was cheap because we made things. We had manufacturing in the city, okay? Manufacturing paid a certain amount of money. Most rental units were owned by people like you. So when a family lost a job, most of the time, they knew who you were, and they provide free housing, okay? We don't have that. We've lost manufacturing thanks to NAFTA, and what we have is no longer what we make, but we have services, whether it's in the computer areas, or lawyers, or doctors, or whatever. But we don't make anything. So people who used to earn small income could afford where they live. North Chicago, and I think Highwood, had huge yards for the North Shore train that provided a lot of jobs at very low income, but they were able to live comfortably with a middle-class life. That went away, okay? So we need to realize what's going on in Chicago. Thursday's paper talked about a couple that bought some big factory. They were artists, and they bought a lot of money in the 80s, $250,000. So that's a lot of money in the 80s. Sold it for $8.3 million yesterday. $8.3 million. Where they used to slice up meat on Fulton Street. It was a god-awful place to go when I lived there. The stench of, slaughtered meat was disgusting, okay? But that area is hot. You can't go 10 feet without bumping into some restaurant that starts at $100 a person, okay? So we need to do a lot of work on this. It's not gonna be easy because a lot of the people that own buildings are not the people that live there. They live on Michigan Avenue. Okay, they don't live in Pilsen, they live on Michigan Avenue. I had to go to court a couple months ago to testify in a case, or listen to a case of Justin Howell, and I took the bus. There's some parts of that neighborhood that look like Lake Forest. Okay, I mean, it's gentrified up to Yin Yang, because I took that little zigzag bus that goes to the criminal courts building, and I was in medical school. Pilsen, you could get an apartment for under $100 in the 70s, okay? Not now. Anyway, I talk enough. Thanks.
Matt Nachowski, organized labor.
Well, hold on, Matt, somebody's coming up.
Oh, sorry, Matt.
You defer.
I'll be brief, Matt.
Progressive staff, right?
Right. I just wanted to give a brief testimony because I feel like I have fit into every criteria and example you have given. I have lived in the same apartment. My name is Cynthia Washington. I'm sorry. Hi, I'm Cynthia Washington.
I'm Cynthia.
I've lived in Waukegan for most of my life, but I have lived in the same apartment complex for at least 15 years or more. So initially, I think my rent made sense. It made sense initially, but now as the years have passed, I don't know why my rent increases. I have been beating and stomping my feet, having these conversations with my landlord, and so far the reasons are they buy and sell the building often. They buy it, someone buys it, someone sells it, someone buys it, someone sells it. They started with like a maintenance staff of 8 people. I think they have 2 or 3 currently. They spend a lot of money on landscaping apparently. That's the justification for my rent increases. Landscaping, snow plowing, and as far as maintenance, if you have an issue, they will ask, well, please understand, we can't afford any maintenance. We can't afford maintenance. So they literally do not repair anything. And we'll just say, just understand. But I ask, when my rent increases, and you can't explain to me why, like, why can't you understand that I can't pay your rent increase? So not only do they give you a rent increase, they give you 3 tiers. If you sign right now, it's this much. But if you wait 10 days, oh, it's going a little higher. If you wait 20 days to think about this, it's going to go a little higher. So it's almost forcing you. So I have to take the low ball when I can get it, or it goes up. Then they'll say, well, thank you for re-signing. Is there anything we can do for you? Sure, I give a list, never hear from them again. They don't do anything. So not one rent increase has been justified in over at least 7 years. And I finally got in touch with a regional manager to voice all of these concerns. And he listened, and he was so compassionate. And at the end, he said, well, you know, taxes are going up and the economy's changed. And he ended by saying, it sounds like you're unhappy. You should probably move.
Wow.
So, but then when you go to move, you need to make 3 times. And like you said, I work 3 jobs, and I have to piece together 5 to 6 checks to pay rent. So it's reality. And I've been doing it for 15 years. Wow. So I just wanted to.
Matt Wachowski from, is it the American Federation of Government Employees?
Thank you, Cynthia. Yes, we need to hear more stories like yours. I think everyone knows people with those stories, and I always think of this quote from Malcolm X talking about how when you read the newspaper, just try to find the people in the newspaper who aren't millionaires. And I think that the more we can do to raise the voices of people, regular people, when we tell our stories, we win. So very happy that we're putting together this event and starting to raise those voices on this issue in this, in Lake County. Like Adam said, I work for a labor union. We represent federal employees in a variety of agencies, but 2 of the ones that I wanted to kind of mention real quick, we represent the people who work at HUD, Housing and Urban Development, and we represent the employees at the Veterans Administration, the VA. So if you're a veteran and you get health care at the North Chicago VA, there's a good chance that some of our AFGE members are helping you out. And a lot of what our members do is work with local groups on issues of housing, helping veterans who need help finding affordable housing, helping people who have issues finding affordable housing get it. And obviously the current administration is making it difficult for them to do their jobs. And it's a real struggle. They're really trying to undermine these agencies' ability to help people who need help. But it's one of those things that the union is in this fight. We're speaking with other labor groups and trying to raise their awareness about these issues. And I feel like this rent control regulations on rent would help our members, the people who work at HUD, the people who work at the VA, to be able to do their job, because they want to be able to help make sure everyone has a decent place to live and can afford it. And, you know, regulations like this are just common sense things that can be done. And I you know, I would ask the panel, like, ways in which, you know, we can work together on that, but maybe this should just be an ongoing conversation about ways in which, you know, the federal employees and the unions that represent them can, you know, collaborate on this issue.
Thank you, ma'am. Betty, you had your hand up?
I just wanted to say something afterwards as a, yes. You're
go
up
up
here.
there front. Yeah.
Okay, I got on my community day stuff.
You're fine.
Okay, I'm a citizen of North Chicago, and I actually had the pleasure of working with Nat and Lisa, and he said he ran for a Lake County clerk, but I say he won, but, you know, I have to prove that, but I can prove that I got kicked out of the election because I was watching them cheat him, okay? So I did. I got a letter saying I can't serve as a judge anymore. I got kicked out because I was watching them cheat Adam out of his office. So I'm saying it, I'm keeping it real. And I've been in politics for a long time, and I ain't never seen nobody cheated as badly as Adam and Lisa were. They worked hard. And this other girl that got elected was the candidate that they figured the Republicans can beat. So I'm like, I'm stopped. Let me go about housing. I'm sorry. Okay, this is about housing. I am a senior person. Okay, that means I'm over 65. Okay, now this is the thing. In North Chicago, I wanted to stay there because this is where my students are. This is my mission field. And you cannot afford to, there are people, developers coming in from like London even. North Chicago is one of those places that they got on the internet and internationally. And our city is letting this happen. It's being gentrified. People are coming in from Lake Forest, Highland Park, Lake Bluff. They're coming in from overseas investors. They're buying the houses. You can't buy them. The city's raising the taxes, so the seniors can't afford it. Then you can't afford to go as a senior, which I am. You can't afford to rent because the rent has gone up high because they're reselling, they're buying the houses, and they're actually reselling them to themselves in another LLC, a blind trust. And the prices is going up, and the rents are going up. You can't afford it unless you're Section 8, and I just make $10 more than Section 8, okay? I'm always $10 more than the limit. Oh, you make too much money. I'm like, no, I'm a substitute teacher. I'm broke, okay? You know, I had to turn in my Bentley like 15 years ago, and I got an AO, which maybe costs $4,500, okay, if it's running. So let me just say this. I like what I do. I like my life. I'm not calling myself poor and feeling sorry. I enjoy what I do and the work I do in the community for the children. But I cannot afford to live in North Chicago. I gotta move. I fell and hurt myself, so I gotta move because I can't do the stairs. I'm in a place where the landlord and I are actually related, so I can, you know, I got rent control there. Because my aunt tells her daughter, you better not raise Betty's rent. Right. So anyway, so that got rent control. But I can't take the stairs, so I have to try. I've been all over. I cannot find a place in North Chicago that I can afford. Because investors have come in, they fixed up the houses, they're gentrifying North Chicago, they're jacking up the taxes, so the old people can't afford to pay, can't afford to keep their houses. Then they're selling them for cheap. Or when they die, their kids can't pay the taxes because it's so high. And these people are coming in, swooping in, investors, with these signs, we buy houses. Well, they buying them, and they're calling these people that are sick and people that are getting old and ready to die, and they're buying these houses. And the regular people in North Chicago cannot afford it. I cannot afford the rent because I make $10 more than the poverty level. Okay? So I just think this is a wonderful idea. We cannot afford to have this happen. North Chicago is a good working community. American Motors or Chrysler's is gone. All those middle class jobs are gone. NAFTA took them away. So I'm like, you know, the people don't make the money. So the children don't have the jobs. They got to work 3 jobs at Amazon and Walmart and whatever. And in healthcare, you don't make anything. But, you know, that's a good union. But, you know, we still... You know, we don't make the money, even with the boomers. So people have to go, old people have to lose their houses because of the high taxes. They have to go into senior housing if they can get them. But you can't rent a house. You can't pay the rent. It's too high. It's too high. So we really need this organization. I applaud you all for coming here. It was like an answer to prayer. An answer to prayer. And I'm sorry, I embarrassed y'all.
No.
But it's the truth.
One more thing about that. Real quick. I didn't lose the campaign because I got to be part of the community and I'm living the dream. So we're building the movement. It's what we're doing, and so this is just the beginning, and that campaign was just the beginning. And,
Exactly.
That's all we need to say about that.
Exactly.
Clyde McLemore, Black Lives Matter.
How y'all doing?
Adam.
I'm the,
Oh, sorry, what was it?
First, I want to apologize for not inviting Ben.
That's all right. Adam and Lisa did.
Adam did pick it up from me. So.
Yes, he did.
But
I think Lisa did
to
it.
pick up on, I'm sorry, Lisa. But to back up what Betty
out of
said,
Facebook.
in North Chicago, we've had a lot of real estate investment trusts. For those of you that don't know, those are like, in a sense,
Blind
big
trust.
real estate mutual funds that are buying up houses in North Chicago and Waukegan. They'll buy it up, like I said, the condo that I live in. They bought that one for $25,000, or it was selling for $25,000. They bought it for $125,000. For individuals that live there and have always lived there, that've gone off and gone to school and now trying to buy a house, they can't even afford it because they're being overpriced, and there's no starter homes now for a lot of people to get their first home, to get, so they can start building equity, things that a lot of people that like my grandparents and my parents went through when they were able to work at the steel mill. My father worked at the steel mill that was in North Chicago for 20 years and started to work over at the Park District. Those type of jobs are leaving because of NAFTA, CAFTA, and now we have this thing called the TPP, which they're trying to take even more jobs away from our community.
Exactly.
And then even we have with the cabal of different people buying and selling it between 5 or 6 different investors. Whispering Oaks, which happens to be in my district of Waukegan. 5 investors have been buying and selling it left and right. We've had flooding over there, no repairs. We've had rats over there, no repairs. Nothing has been done to improve the lives of the residents there. Because they are Section 8, their rent is completely paid for. And if they complain, they get kicked out. And this is a private company. I've been trying to fight with them for the year that I've been on the county board now to get them to actually do something over there. We had shoots, we've calmed that part down, but they still need to make the capital improvements over there instead of coming to the county board and asking us for $15 million to renovate their own private institution where they've been getting millions of dollars every single month from Section 8, which we as taxpayers and federal government, we pay every single year. And I'll turn it over to Clyde.
thank you. I'm Clyde McLemore. Thank you, Dan. I'm Clyde McLemore. I'm founder of the Lake County chapter of Black Lives Matter. Ever since Matt and them contacted me, I've been doing, y'all that know me know I do a lot of investigating. So I investigated everything, right? And this is some of the things that I came up with. You brought up North Chicago, Betty.
Yeah.
Y'all remember Marion Jones, right?
Yep.
You remember what people paid to live in Marion Jones? Those that had, that was subsidized living. Some had Section 8, some was on just low income, right? Okay, now they coming in, they rebuilding, they making that homes. That money came from HUD. That money from HUD through in private investors, which Lake County Housing went and got the money personally and brought it back, right? So I've been in touch with Lake County Housing. I've been in touch with the director and the gentleman who went and got the money. I even contacted the developers. We want to make sure that that rent stay the same. Now, right now, I don't have nothing in writing. I got a verbal that the rent is going to stay the same and people can come back when these houses are being built. I'm working on a written. I'm working on it. I'm written on it. Now, I want to talk about the Botwell. The Botwell. Now, y'all know it's been a lot on Facebook about the Botwell. They want it closed. They want it shut down. It's been, since the 60s it was built?
Yeah.
What is it?
What's
This is the Botwell, where we at right now.
Yeah, that's right
You
there.
mean Barwell?
This is the Botwell.
Barwell, okay.
Botwell. Where we at? Botwell.
Okay.
It's been built since the 60s. I know if y'all seen pictures on Facebook with people's apartments
are just devastated, you know, and nobody's, so I got in touch with Waukegan Housing, find out because they the one that own this property. Now, the city, some of the activists in the middle want the city to tear it down. There was a developer that came in and bought this land, and they was going to tear it down, right? But it was sounding like a little con game. First of all, he was the only developer, and he wouldn't put up 19,000 to receive 90 million to tear it down. He wouldn't put up 19,000 to receive 90 million.
90
I'm
million?
not messing that up.
Oh, where do I sign up for that?
I said it twice.
I do it.
He wouldn't put up $19,000 for a lawyer to go over the contracts and everything for the city to sign. Plus, he was the only developer. So therefore,
No open bidding.
they wasn't open. He was the only developer.
Set up.
That was the last administration. So the new administration came in and said, well, if you're not going to put up the $19,000, was it 19,000? Yeah, 19,000. We're not giving you the 19 million, and killed the deal, right? So everybody went off, okay? Well, HUD, Washington, D.C., say they would give $50 million to not tear it down, but just gut it out. They're gonna gut it out and everything and replace people, give some of them Section 8, because some of them is just on low income, okay? Put some of them on Section 8 and then let them come back. They promised me that this would not be look like what it is. I asked y'all that's sitting here, I see y'all see these numbers, John Cullivan, Senator Link, these are Senator Link is your senator. If you live here in Waukegan in the 60th district, he needs your vote. Every time something going on, who do you see? Senator Link, I ain't gonna mark him because he my guy. I ain't gonna mark him because they gonna happen to me one day.
No.
I'm getting old too.
You did it good though.
Somebody else did that.
But you see Senator Link every time something going on. If you leave here and you go to community days, he might be gone now. But you see Senator Link. I know he was at the parade today. You know what I'm saying? Pull him to the side. Tell him, say, man, what's up? Well, we all know Senator Link is a majority leader in the Senate.
Assistant.
Right. He also take marching orders from John Cullivan. Take these numbers. What's that bill again?
3512.
35. Write that down, y'all. Senate bill
3512.
We need to call them and tell them we want this bill to be sponsored. That's why these numbers are here. We need this bill to be sponsored. We need rent control. I live in Zion. We pay the highest taxes in the whole state of Illinois. You go down south where they live in Springfield, because they live there half the time when they in office. They all got apartments there. Even when I was a lobbyist, I had a room there. You wouldn't believe what I paid down there compared to what I pay up here, you know, when I was a lobbyist. So I explain that to you because I want to, I mean, this room should be filled. This room should be filled. I put it out there. We put it out there. This room should be filled. So with that, I just want to put that out there, that it's a lot going on, a lot of money being changed hands, and we need to get on our politicians. And that's all I got.
Okay.
But I am the thank you.
Is that Senate Bill 35?
Yeah. Do we have any?
Senate bill. It's not even in the house yet.
Do we have any questions or comments?
I have another comment.
For someone who hasn't spoken
Oh,
yet?
okay. First. I had a question for him about the bar well.
I just want to see if anyone who hasn't kicked in yet wants to say something or has any questions. We have a testimony.
I Hey, my name is Jawanza. I'm from the Gene Barnes Hope Center. It's based on the south side of Chicago, in the Bronzeville area. Also part of the band coalition. And basically, we've been working on this for 9 months. As far as canvassing, going door to door, knocking on people's doors, making phone calls to our senator about it. I'm from a household which about 7 people stay in. I work 2 jobs to maintain. My rent is like $1,000 a month, and basically it takes the majority of my income, you know. And just yesterday I paid my rent. My landlord was talking about increasing it to $150, so I got to figure out back to school time coming. Maybe I got to cut down one of my kids' uniforms, or you know, take something away from the household just to maintain. And it's like, it's ridiculous. It's like, you work hard trying to strive and make a way out here in this life, and they just steady building it against you. And it's like, what can we do? I mean, we really need this ordinance passed. We really need this bill passed. And it's like, come on, we've been working on this since years now, and since the wintertime, this summertime, this new session's about to come in. I mean, they got to give us some type of breaks out here. I mean, what more can we do? You know, there's only so many hours of the day, so much time folks can spend in their lives trying to strive and make it. We need the same amenities as everybody else around here, you know. I mean, I don't understand how maybe hardship is outside of my city. Chicago, I love my city. I don't want to move nowhere else. I've been born and raised there. So, I mean, we just need to find a way that we can make it if they can try to help us work through these changes and these hard times. I mean, I understand minimum wage may be raised, but that don't mean you got to make it even harder for us to survive out here.
That's right.
So, I mean, thank y'all for listening.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Hello. My name is Tawanda Keys. I want to bring up something as far as housing, the housing situation. I've been on housing for almost 5 years. I went from just having one income. I worked hard to get into home care and everything, and I made it. And so more and more as I started to work in home care and my income went up and everything, I was like at $300 at first, 300 or something a month. Then it went like to 5 something. And I'm like, what's going on? I wanted to know, how am I coming to, you know, this point, or how much. It seemed like the more I'm trying, the more I try to save, the more I'm trying to, you know, build on branching off so I can not depend on housing and just to, you know, do what I need to do. And it's like I'm trying more, I'm working harder, I'm following all the guidelines to do what's right to get to own my own home. That's what I want. I went from $722. The last 2 months went to $922.
Oh, wow.
Yesterday, I had to pay my rent, $1,160. Nobody could tell me what. I went down to the office, everything. Can you please sit down, someone explain how, you know, why is my rent like this? I get, 2 of my girls, they get benefits, Social Security, retirement from their dad. And it seemed like every time I get an extra dollar or anything or whatever, they got to take a large chunk. How am I going to survive? My rent is $1,000 and something. My landlord wanted originally $1,412 a month for the house. Housing told me they can help me with only $220 some a month. I have to pay $1,160. I have 3 kids. 1 high school, 1 middle school, 1 grade school. I have to provide for them. I don't get linked. I have to make sure I get back and forth to work. I have clients, but I don't have, you know, I'm not making the money to really, you know, pay $1,160 a month. That's house note.
Right.
I asked someone help me to guide me to getting into a home, a program through housing or whatever. We don't have a program no more. It's in Wisconsin or Chicago. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, where is this leading me? So now I gotta think on more strategies to make sure I can get, when I have to give up housing, and I still have to keep on going, working and everything to maintain where I'm at and where I wanna be. I don't wanna be on housing for the rest of my life. You know, that's why I work as hard as I do. That's why I do the things I do. But it seems like I'm not getting nowhere. Nowhere. I'm not saving money like I used to, because I went from here to there in 2-3 months. And that's not fair, because I don't see where I'm, you know, getting help like I should be. So the thing is, what can I do? Now I have to go online, go on sites, ask people. Good thing I know some people that send to realty and everything. How do I go by this? How can I go on, you know, this site, and what do I do? Check my credit. I got to do all of this to make sure that I can survive and take care of my family. So I don't know. It's a struggle. And I think we all need to just, you know, we're going to pray every day. I'm quite sure we do. But the thing is, we're stuck right in the middle.
Yolanda, did you put your name on it? Sorry. Did you put your contact information and name on the sign-in sheet?
Yes, I
so we
did,
can
sir.
follow up. All right. Be in touch.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Thank you for sharing. So, yeah, that's the start. A couple of testimonials. We're going to find some more testimony. I know that she's not alone in her situation, and we just need to get more people to stand up together with us. And this is the beginning of it, and we'll move out from here and get it done. I already have some ideas about knocking some doors and rattling some cages and stirring things up that might help. Sir, please go.
So, I mean, I just want to say it just frankly hurts my heart to hear stuff like that, right? And I know we all experience it, whether it's personal or somebody in our family, one of our friends, right? This has happened to. And it's the people who's supposed to represent us that know this is happening and not doing anything.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That's the thing.
That's the
When,
bad part.
so I was up here going through my phone, I wasn't texting anybody, I was looking up something. Right now in California, they're going through the same thing we're trying to do here in Illinois, where they want to lift the caps on rent control, because they got a few units that's rent controlled. But again, the realty industry put a cap on it. Like, you can only, look, you want rent control that over there, and we got the rest over here. And so they've been fighting like cats and dogs to be able to do what we want to do here. But when I looked up, they sent me one of the disclosures. You got one company ran by one man that donated $4 million to block what they're trying to do. Now that's just one person. One person donated $4 million to continue our misery. What's that about? And so these numbers are up here for a reason. See, when we launched this campaign in 2017, the woman who courageously introduced Senate Bill 3512 in the Senate to establish rent control got blocked from doing it. So back in the beginning of 2017, she tried to introduce it then, but got blocked by, anybody want to guess who did it? Anybody want to guess? Who? Say it one more again. Senate President John Coaliton blocked her from introducing a bill to help her constituents. The president of the Senate, the person who's supposed to be looking out for all the Illinoisans, right? And so she comes back around with Senate Bill 3512. She's able to get it introduced, but she can't do anything with it because he's holding on to it. He wouldn't assign it to a committee. And the way it works down there, he has to assign it to a committee before anything can happen. So you can introduce it, but you ain't gonna do nothing with it. That's like me saying, Timothy, I'm gonna give you your favorite toy. I'm gonna hold on to it though. You can't play with it, but you got it, but I'm gonna hold it for you. That's crazy. And so we're going around the state talking to as many people as we can because you need to understand what your leadership is doing on your behalf. Some people say nothing. I say they're clearly doing something. It might not be what we want. It might not be what we need. But it's obvious they're doing something. Right? And so what we're asking is for you to make a couple of phone calls. That's it. If you can get your friends to make some phone calls, you get your neighbors, look, people you don't even like, just get them to make the phone call. Because we need them to do for us. Because they are sure making sure they taken care of. They ain't missing a check. They ain't missing a perk. Whatever it is they think they need, they're using our taxpayer dollars to get done for them. But when it comes to what we need, they don't know how to act. Well, I don't know about rent control. I heard some bad stuff about it. I don't know about rent control. That sounds too radical. But when your rent going up, that ain't radical. Your rent going up, but you can't get stuff you need taken care of, well, that's all right. They got a right to make money, right? They businessmen. That's business. But when you and your kids out on the street because you can't pay that rent, who gonna come to your aid, right?
Yep.
And so we're asking you to make these phone calls. We're asking you to put your name on the sign-in sheet because we want to keep this going.
Yes.
This isn't just one of those meetings to get people in a room and we talk and we go on about our business.
Right. Right.
This is about identifying people who understand, who feel the pain, and just sick and tired of it. To me, y'all sound like y'all sick and tired.
Yeah.
Now, my ears be bad, but it sounds like y'all sick and tired.
Frustrated. Yeah.
And so if that's true, we need to move. We need to act. We need to get these people to do what it is they're supposed to do.
Hold on one second. Where did you get Link's number?